It had been the most boring month of his life, but at least now it was finally over. Captaining a vessel of the AMIA Science Consortium was a privilege. Even getting on the short list was a huge honor that only went to spacers with decades of experience. And granted, she was a beautiful ship. The light of dawn reflecting off the clouds was sleek as a Geahawk and had the most modern sublight and FTL engines available. It was the sort of ship you would have had a model of as a fledgling. But as with many privileges, the main reason it was a privilege was because if it wasn't, no one would want to do it. You got given a beautiful ship, you were allowed to pick the best crew you could find, and then you spent most of your time parked in orbit of a nameless rock with nothing to do but fluff your feathers. Because although the Dawnlight was equipped with state-of-the-art laboratories, its main purpose was simply to carry the science team from point A to point B, then wait for them to while they did all the actual exploration down on the surface. Geologists. Weird bunch. Flight was everything to an AMIA, but this lot had chosen a career that took place entirely on the ground. Often even under the ground, which most sane people would avoid like the plague. Imagine spending all your time cramped up in narrow tunnels, unable to fly. The captain recognized the irony there, because even the most luxurious spaceship was hardly much better. But when he was aboard a ship, it was almost like it was an extension of himself, and he was flying through the endless sky between the stars. And now he finally got to do that again. "Are the last of the equipment pods stowed?" he asked his first mate. "Aye, Captain." "Then I think it's more than past time we put some distance between us and this rock. Luomet, plot a course out of the system," he told the navigator. "How far out of the gravity well do you want to be before we engage FTL?" Luomet asked. The captain was tempted to answer, "Get us out of here as fast as possible." But there was no need to take risks. Even in a ship like the Dawnlight, it wasn't advisable to jump to FTL too close to a large mass. "No need to rush, we're still well within deadline. Get us to optimal safe distance." That usually meant heading up, out of the plane of the ecliptic, to avoid any other planets or large asteroids. But this was a binary star system, so the calculations were a little more complex. "Gotcha. Let's see." Luomet slid his fingers across his computer interface. "Optimal course puts us in a position for FTL in 6 hours. "That fast?" the first mate breathed. "I knew there was a reason I signed onto this ship." "Really, Kealad? It wasn't for the pleasure of working under the best captain of his generation? What? When did Emus get on board?" the first mate said slyly. Emus was the captain of the Dawnlight's sister ship, Starlight on the Sea, and a longtime rival. "You just wait until I write your performance review. See if you laugh then." "All right, Helm. Take us out of orbit. Slowly. We don't want geologists bouncing off the walls." The sublight engines began to burn, gently pushing them out of their circuit around the red-purple planet that had occupied the view screen for the past month and out into open space. With the inertial dampeners active, they barely felt the acceleration. Or at least, the spacers didn't. It was advisable for AMIA, who were new to artificial gravity, to avoid using their wings until they were fully accustomed to it. And no doubt it would take the geologists a while before they could fly without the subtle difference sending them head first into a bulkhead. Ahead of them was nothing but the stars. The captain sighed with relief. Now this was what he had signed up for. Captain, you might want to have a look at this," the helmsman said cautiously. "What is it, Akono?" "I think I'm picking up a ship on the scanner. Wait, yeah, I'm sure I'm picking up a ship." The captain wasn't concerned. It wasn't like the research they were conducting was a secret, or even particularly interesting, unless you were a geologist. "Where is it?" 3.2 light minutes away near the next planet. I think they just broke orbit as well." They might have only just seen us too. "Want to check us out? Can we refine the scans enough to give us a ship model?" It was unlikely that they would run into another ship this far out by chance. He didn't like to think that the Science Consortium would have sent someone to check up on them or sent another team on the same mission, but academic politics could be surprisingly backbiting. "I'm pretty sure it's not an AMIA ship. See here, we got a good read on their engine burn. Its spectra is nothing like anything we make." The captain looked at the readouts closely. Akano was right. No engine built by the Amiya would produce those emissions. After a lifetime in space, the captain was familiar with quite a few species ships, and it didn't look like anything he recognized. However, running through the logical possibilities, if it wasn't Amiya, well, he wasn't ready to make any judgments yet. Maybe it was just a wild coincidence, but he had a horrible feeling that he could guess what species the ship belonged to. He toggled the button on his ship's suit that activated the intercom. Safety officer to the bridge. I repeat, the safety officer is to report to the bridge immediately. All other crew and passengers are to stay in their cabins until told otherwise. Was that necessary? The first mate asked. The rock guys are nervous enough about space travel. That ship could be anything. Yeah, that's what worries me, the captain said. Help me with these scanners. We need to get the beam to the right attenuation and frequency to tell us what we're dealing with here. The door to the bridge swished open. All right, what's the big emergency? The safety officer asked. You wouldn't believe how much equipment I still have to process through quarantine. The rock guys lug around so much junk. Don't tell me there's an engine with a containment problem. That's engineering's department. Kumos, look at this, the captain interrupted. The safety officer strolled over to the scanner console and had a look at the readouts. His feathers immediately stood on end. Okay, that's definitely an emergency. The captain nodded. They'd got the scanning beam focused enough to give them a good picture of the ship now approaching off their starboard. The archive had confirmed a positive match for the configuration. It was human. Let's not panic just yet, the captain said, trying to stay calm, or at least project the outward appearance of calm. We always knew this was a possibility. The Science Consortium bought the survey data from the humans. Their region of space is nearby. Just because they don't have any settlements this far out doesn't mean there's anything unusual about them sending survey ships through the system. That ship is probably just curious. It didn't realize we were in the system, and now it's coming to have a look. Before anyone flies off the perch, just remember, the humans have never attacked an Amiya ship. Yeah, but did you see what they did to the Kalukamsku? Luomet said. The navigator had his wings up, a sure sign of nerves. We are not the Kalukamsku, the captain said firmly. The Amiya prided themselves on being the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, or at least one of them. They were also considerably more diplomatic than the Kalukamsku. The human-Kamsku war was the result of aggressive behavior on the part of the Kamsku. There's no reason to think that ship has any hostile intention towards us. He leaned in and asked the security officer in a low voice. Suggestions? Keep our distance, the security officer muttered back. If they want to know what we're doing here, we can tell them, but don't let them get close enough to put this ship in danger. That's more or less what I was thinking. Hailing them has another advantage. It lets them know we've seen them. A lot of predators will only stalk a target for as long as they think they haven't been spotted. I'm not sure if that applies to a sentient predator, but it can't hurt. The captain called over to the first mate. Kia lad, do we have archive data for the radio frequencies humans use? Hold on, bringing it up now. The first mate traced his finger over the communications console. Yeah, we have that. Just adjust our transmitter. Okay, you're live in 3, 2, 1. This is the Amiya Science Consortium starship Light of Dawn reflecting off the clouds, calling the unknown human vessel. Please identify yourself. The captain waited a moment, but nothing happened. The first mate shook his head. No transmission from the other ship. They're definitely heading in our direction, Akano noted. Intercept vector. The captain tried again. This is the Amiya Science Consortium starship Light of Dawn reflecting off the clouds, calling the unknown human vessel. We have been conducting scientific research on the third planet and are now leaving the system. Please tell us how we can assist you. Another pause. Still, no response. Whatever they want, they're in a hurry to get it, Akano said. I don't know what that ship's top speed is, but they must be pushing it. Are we going to make it to the FTL point before they reach us? Not at this speed. Still nothing on comms? The captain turned back to the first mate. No chance that they're broadcasting on a different frequency? Or trying to signal us via laser or FTL pulse? The only way to send communications faster than the speed of light was to use a ship's FTL engines to create an oscillating space-time disturbance. "We're not picking up anything at all," Kialad confirmed. "Well, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like waiting around to find out what they want. Helm, increase to 90% of maximum acceleration." "Aye, sir. Speed adjusted. We're now on track to reach our jump point before they reach us." The safety officer still didn't seem happy. "Recommend we jump to FTL at minimum safe distance." The captain thought about it for a moment. Safe was a relative term where FTL was concerned, and minimum safe distance was only the point at which guidelines considered the risk sufficiently minimal to be acceptable in an emergency. There was still a non-negligible danger to the ship in jumping that close to a gravity well. The question was, did this situation qualify as an emergency? The captain had never encountered humans before, but when he was told the mission would be taking place near their territory, he made a point of reading up on them. "Agreed. Akono, make sure the FTL engines are charged and ready to activate at minimum safe distance." "Captain, I'm picking up another engine flare." "Another ship?" "I'm not sure. It's right next to the humans. There may have been two ships so close together that we couldn't tell them apart. Whatever it is, it's small. Only 4 meters long and less than 1 wide, and it's fast. It'll catch us before we reach the new jump point." "It must be a mini drone. They realized they weren't going to reach us, so they launched a remote." "What do we do?" asked Akono. "I say we ignore it," Kialad said grumpily. "Let them play their games if they want to. A drone that small wouldn't be a threat to us." Kumos shook his head. "Better not to take the chance," he cautioned. "Can we increase speed anymore?" "Not enough to go to FTL before it catches us," said Akono. "Then it seems like we have no choice," the captain said. He was getting an uncomfortable feeling about this, but it wasn't time to panic yet. "Most likely it'll just run some scans and then go dormant and wait for pickup. It can't have much of a power source if it's that small. It'll have burned most of its energy by the time it reaches us." The worst thing about space travel is that the distances are so vast that waiting for anything to happen takes a long time. Even given the approaching drone's speed, it took more than an hour for it to reach them. The crew used that time to make sure the last of the scientific equipment was packed away properly, and to tell the scientists what was going on. A couple of them demanded that the ship jump to FTL immediately, and the captain had to explain to them that it wasn't safe yet. He got back to the bridge when the drone was only a minute away. "Status report?" "No change," the first mate informed him. "Drone is still gaining on us, and the human ship is continuing to pursue at high acceleration." "What do our scans of the drone say?" "If it's a sensor remote, it's the crudest one I've ever seen. Of course, with human technology, it could very well just be the best they're capable of." "Captain," Akono called. "It's changed trajectory slightly. It's on a direct collision course with us." "What? You mean it's going to ram us?" "Looks like it." "That's ridiculous. It would just bounce right off the hull." The captain paused. Humans might be technologically backwards, but they weren't stupid. There must be some kind of purpose to it that he wasn't seeing. "Kumos, what's your assessment?" The safety officer thought for a moment, then answered. "It could be meant as a warning. Humans are a highly violent and territorial species. They could feel that we've encroached too near to their colonies. Ramming us with a drone could be their version of spreading your wings full length." While an Amiya's reflex response to danger was to find something thick to hide under, making themselves as large as possible was part of their body language in confrontations with other Amiya. Aggression posturing, actions speak louder than words, that sort of thing. That sounds logical, but we can't rely on an alien species to think in a way we'd consider logical. "Helm, take evasive action." "I can try," said Akono, "but that thing is way too fast. Hold on." The dawnlight veered sharply. Thanks to the inertial dampeners, the people inside the ship only felt it as an abrupt sense of vertigo. Amiya, being flyers, have an extra keen sense of balance and position, so most species wouldn't have felt even that. The little blip on the sensor screen kept closing on them, matching their maneuver, drawing closer, closer, closer. Suddenly the ship lurched, and this time they definitely felt it. Several of the bridge crew were thrown against the nearest console, and the captain had to spread his wings to stop himself slamming into the wall. "What the hell was that?" No one answered for a moment, except with groans. The captain, wings still spread for balance, went over to the helm and pulled a Kano out of the way. "Ow. I think I chipped my beak." "What happened?" the captain muttered, trying to find the drone on the scanners. It had obviously been equipped with some kind of weapon, and the first thing he wanted to make sure of was that it wasn't about to use it again. "The drone self-destructed, violently," the first mate called out. He was playing back the last few seconds from the external cameras. Almost as he said it, the intercom started beeping. When he toggled the channel open, he was rewarded with a stream of invective so fast it was almost a blur. Then, as the syllables started to slow down, he was able to make out Keon, the chief engineer. "What are you people doing up there?" "We're under attack. Some kind of explosive drone," the captain said grimly. "Damage report?" "Sublight engines are offline, and they're not coming online again anytime soon. There are microfractures all across the engine casings, and a couple of the plasma conduits have ruptured. I've had to shut everything down to avoid blowing the ship to pieces." "What about FTL?" "A couple of the external stabilizers are damaged, but the drive is still functional. I can't guarantee the power supply network can feed it enough energy to make a jump, though." "Does it have enough power to send a distress call?" "It should do." The captain went over to the communications console and brought up the options for FTL transmission. Mercifully, all the readouts were still showing functional. He hurriedly typed out a call for help. It was only a minute or two before the drive came online, but it felt like an eternity. When the console finally flashed green, the captain practically slammed his fist down on the send button. "This is the AMIA Science Consortium starship, Light of Dawn reflecting off the clouds. We are under attack by an unknown vessel of human origin. Our engines are damaged and the hostile ship is closing on us. We need immediate assistance. Repeat, we need immediate assistance. End transmission." The FTL drive would replay that on a loop several times, a ripple in the fabric of the cosmos expanding out of the system at many times the speed of light. The captain didn't hold out much hope that anyone would receive it in time. This system was too remote. At best, it might be picked up before it finally dissipated, and someone would relay it back to homeworld, to tell their families what had happened to them if they didn't make it out of this. Maybe, just maybe, if the human ship knew the attack had been reported, they would back off. The captain wasn't holding out much hope for that either. He opened the intercom to engineering again. "Is the FTL drive in good enough condition to make a jump?" "The drive itself is fine. A couple of the stabilizers are out, but that's why we have redundancy. I'm more worried about the power grid. You know how much of an energy hog it is, and we've lost a couple of the main plasma conduits, but I can try rerouting power from other systems. Do whatever you can. We jump in 10 minutes. "I thought we weren't at minimum safe distance." "Safety is a relative term, Keon. Just get it done." It was a risk to try and go to FTL now, but the bigger risk was sticking around here with the humans. A short, low-powered burst of FTL would be all they needed. Put some distance between them and the human ship, then once they were out of the binary system's gravity eddies, they could make a proper jump and leave this place far, far behind. "Torpedo," Kumho said. "What?" The captain turned to the safety officer. He had some of the archive files open. "They hit us with a torpedo. Explosive missile, very old concept. Humans were using them for ship-to-ship combat before they even discovered FTL. Before they even invented space travel. How the hell did they ever make it off their planet if they spent their time building things like that? They don't use them much anymore, but... Hang on." He scrolled down. "Some ships still carry them, because their variable yield makes it easy to disable ships without destroying them. Not posturing, then. No. I suppose we should be grateful that they seem to want us in one piece. Question is, why? Well, they are carnivores." That sent a chill right down to the captain's wingtips. "You think they're hungry? This is a remote system, especially with their FTL technology. There's no other life for light years. They might have seen an opportunity to stock up on supplies before the trip home. You'd think they would make sure they had enough to eat before they left. You know what? At this point, it's futile trying to work out what they want. They're aliens. We could go round and round in circles trying to understand them and not get anywhere because they don't think like us, and without more information, we can't even make logical guesses. All I know is we shouldn't stick around to find out what... The captain stopped abruptly as the dawn light shook again. It wasn't as violent as the torpedo explosion, but it sent vibrations shuddering through the superstructure. Now what? They're using some kind of pulsed laser on us, the first mate said. Damn it, they're targeting the FTL stabilizers. While the actual FTL field was created by the FTL drive, tucked away securely near the reactors, in order to bend the laws of physics, safely ships needed stabilizers. FTL was only possible with a low gravitational gradient, and while being some distance from the major masses in a solar system helped, not even the remotest regions of the cosmos had perfectly flat spacetime. The stabilizers dotted in pods along a ship's hull used artificial gravity to even out these little imperfections and make sure the ship wasn't ripped apart when it started traveling at faster than light speeds. Navigation, plot the shortest jump possible. Helm, be ready to go to FTL as soon as you have the trajectory. Engineering, we are going to FTL now. Tell me we're ready. Just give me a few more minutes. We don't have a few more minutes. They're taking out the stabilizers. What? Oh, hell. Hold on, just let me connect the last of the plasma relays. We've lost another 2 stabilizers, the first mate shouted. Is there any danger of a hull breach? No. The energy level is pretty weak. It's taking them several shots to take out each stabilizer. I don't think they can up the power anymore. Akano, keep the damaged sections facing them. Engineering, tell me we're ready to jump. Just a few more seconds. Okay. 3, 2, 1. You've got power. Akano, now. All decks. This is the captain. Brace for a bumpy ride. Wait, the first mate shouted. We just lost another stabilizer. I don't think we have enough now. Luomet! The navigation officer was quickly dragging the icons around his console, calculating the odds of a safe jump in this part of the system. A second later, he froze. Then voice hoarse, he announced, He's right. If we tried to jump now, we'd be smeared over half a light year. There was silence for a moment. Then the captain spoke. Suggestions? Anyone? No one said anything, because there was nothing to say. They were crippled, adrift, and there was no way they would make repairs before the predator stalking them finally caught up. Amiya went dormant for 2 hours every 12 hours or so in a 2-phase cycle. Through both phases, and Amiya was semi-conscious as the 2 hemispheres of their brain rotated through dormant and alert states. In the first hour, their brain triggered recent memories, reinforcing recent learning, but in the second hour, the neural activity became more abstract, showing them impossible scenarios, reflecting their subconscious hopes and fears. In ancient times, many ancient Amiya cultures had believed these were messages from the dead. One of the most common recurring sleep visions was finding oneself in the air, soaring high, riding the thermals and gliding easily until suddenly, without warning, your wings disappeared and you were falling. They were tumbling through the void without their wings, and this was one nightmare they couldn't wake up from.